Have you ever wondered, Vertical Bar, what life is really like, Vertical Bar, in one of the world's poorest cities? Today, I want to talk to you about Bangui, the capital of the Central African Republic, a place that rarely makes the headlines, but whose story deserves to be told. Bangui isn't just a dot on the map, it's home to over 1 million people. Bangui isn't just a dot on the map, it's home to over 1 million people. The average person in Bangui gets by on just about $532 a year. That's less than most of us spend on our phones or Wi-Fi bills. For families here, every dollar counts, and every day is a struggle to meet even the most basic needs. Why is Bangui facing such hardship? For decades, the Central African Republic has been caught in a cycle of coups and militia conflicts. Political instability has made it almost impossible to build strong institutions or invest in the future. The result? Minimal infrastructure investment and widespread economic collapse. About 71% of Central Africans live in poverty. For most people, reliable electricity and clean water are luxuries. In Bangui, nearly 88% of households don't have electricity. Around 70% have no proper sanitation. Imagine trying to study, cook, or just live your daily life with those challenges. Everyday tasks become a struggle when basic services are almost non-existent. These conditions drive people into informal work and deepen cycles of poverty. The city is also a place of refuge for people fleeing violence. Nearly 500,000 are internally displaced. Bangui hosts a huge portion of them. Add to that over 680,000 refugees. The city is bursting at the seams. Overcrowding and stretched resources make daily life even harder. With chronic insecurity and almost no infrastructure investment, formal jobs are nearly impossible to find. Most people hustle in the informal economy, selling goods on the street, doing odd jobs, anything to get by. It isn't easy, but Bangui's people are tough. They keep going, day after day. Knowing the reality, sharing these stories, and supporting organizations working here can make a difference. Next time you hear about the world's richest cities, spare a thought for Bangui and its people. Imagine waking up in a city where almost everyone you know lives on less than $2 a day. That's Bujumbura, the bustling capital of Burundi, named the 4th poorest city in the world in 2025. Now, Bujumbura is home to about 1.35 million people. But life here isn't what you might picture when you think of a capital city. Instead of skyscrapers and busy highways, you'll find quiet streets, small markets, homes built from whatever materials people can gather. Nearly 87% of Burundi's people survive on less than $1.90 a day. That's a statistic, sure, but it means real families making impossible choices every single day: food or medicine, rent or school fees. The struggle is everywhere. The economy is almost entirely rural and informal. Around 80 to 90% of people here rely on subsistence farming. That means growing just enough to feed their families with little left over to sell or save. If the rains don't come or floods wipe out the crops, there's no safety net. And jobs? For young people, unemployment is around 65%. Imagine being a teenager full of dreams and seeing almost no opportunities ahead. Public services in Bujumbura are stretched thin. Outside the city center, there's hardly any electricity. Roads are patchy, clinics are few, and getting around can feel impossible, especially when the rains come and flooding turns neighborhoods into islands. The price of food keeps rising, making it even tougher for families just trying to get by. In the heart of the city, many residents live in crowded slums. Power outages are common, clean water isn't guaranteed, and when storms hit, homes can disappear in a night. Every day is a fight against the odds. But here's what you might not expect. In spite of all these challenges, the people of Bujumbura show endless resilience. Kids walk miles to reach the nearest school. Families come together to rebuild after floods. There's hope and laughter and a sense of community that's impossible to ignore. When we talk about poverty, it's easy to just throw around numbers, but behind every number is a story. A child, a parent, a dreamer trying to carve out a better life. Bujumbura has its struggles, no doubt, but it's also a city filled with heart and hope. Thanks for listening, and remember, every city, no matter how poor, is rich with stories worth telling.
Imagine living in a city where every day is a battle, just to survive. That's the reality for millions of people in Sana'a, Yemen, the third poorest city in the world in 2025. Sana'a isn't just a dot on the map. It's home to about 3.3 million people, each with their own story, dreams, struggles. But for most, those struggles are overwhelming. Let's talk numbers for a second. The average GDP per capita here is just $417. That's not per week. That's for an entire year. Why is Sana'a in such a tough spot? A decade of civil war has devastated Yemen's economy. Since 2014, incomes have been cut in half. Infrastructure has collapsed. Electricity, water, healthcare. The local currency keeps losing value, and prices keep climbing. For most families, more than 60% of income goes to food, and often it's still not enough. Over 70% of Yemenis are food insecure. 75% are dependent on humanitarian aid just to get by. Think about that. Nearly everyone you meet is struggling to put food on the table, and most rely on outside help. But it's not just hunger. There's a lack of clean water, and diseases like cholera are still major threats. In many informal neighborhoods, homes lack reliable sanitation. Chronic malnutrition is a fact of life. Walking through Sana'a, you'll find a city rich in history, beautiful old architecture, vibrant culture. But that beauty is shadowed by hardship. The streets are filled with people doing whatever they can to survive, selling small goods, repairing things, hustling for cash, just to make sure their kids eat that night. Despite this, there's an incredible sense of resilience. People keep going, even when the odds seem impossible. They support each other, share what little they have, and hold on to hope that things will get better. So next time you hear about Sana'a, remember, it's not just a city struggling with poverty. It's a place full of people just like you and me, facing challenges most of us can hardly imagine. And yet, they keep moving forward, one day at a time. Thanks for listening. If you want to help, look for reputable organizations providing aid in Yemen. Every bit counts. Search for vetted international aid groups, check charity ratings, and give through official channels. Small donations and awareness both help. Remember the human faces behind the headlines. Facts and figures tell us the scale, but people tell us the story. If you learned something today, consider sharing this video to spread awareness. Resources are linked below. Humanitarian organizations and verified reporting on Yemen. Every share, every safe donation helps communities survive today.
Kabul, Afghanistan's capital, perched high in the mountains, with almost 5 million people calling it home. In 2025, it's not just a city with a long, storied history. It's projected to be the world's second poorest city. Imagine living on a nominal GDP per capita of just $400 a year. So, how did Kabul get here? Let's rewind. For decades, the city has been at the epicenter of conflict. The Soviet invasion in 1979, a brutal civil war in the 90s, the first Taliban regime, U.S. intervention, and now again, Taliban control since 2021. This relentless cycle of war has left the economy in ruins. Today, a staggering 97% of Afghans are living in poverty. That's almost everyone in the city, and about 75% of households are struggling just to get by, barely scraping together enough for daily meals. Unemployment is at record highs, hovering around 69%. The main culprit? The sudden cutoff of international aid after the Taliban's return. Without it, jobs vanished overnight, markets dried up, and food insecurity became the new normal. But this crisis doesn't affect everyone equally. Strict restrictions on women's work and education have essentially locked half the population out of formal jobs. Just a few decades ago, women made up 40% of Kabul's workforce. Now, most are forced back into their homes, their futures frozen. If you think economics is the only challenge, think again. Kabul's population has quadrupled since 2001, swelled by returning refugees and people fleeing violence in the countryside. The city just can't keep up. Overcrowding is everywhere. Families pack into makeshift homes on hillsides, with many living in mud brick shacks without reliable electricity or clean water. Infrastructure just hasn't kept pace. There are chronic shortages of power, potable water, and sanitation. In fact, experts warn that Kabul could become the world's first modern capital to literally run out of water, its groundwater tapped far beyond what nature can replenish. Despite all this, Kabul is still a vibrant, diverse place. Dari is the common language, but you'll hear Tajik, Hazara, Pashtun, and more. The city's resilience, its culture, and its people's hope for better days remains strong, even when the odds seem impossible. Looking at Kabul in 2025 is a stark reminder of the deep scars war and instability leave behind, not just on buildings but on entire generations. And yet, even at the edge of survival, life continues. So the next time you see Kabul in the news, remember, it's not just headlines, it's real people, real struggles, and a city fighting to hold on.
Imagine living in a place where every single day is a battle for survival. Today I want to talk about Juba, South Sudan, the poorest city in the world in 2025. Juba isn't just a city with a few problems, it's the capital of South Sudan. Around 76% of people live below the poverty line. That's more than 3 out of every 4 people struggling to meet even their most basic needs. Now picture this. The average income per person in Juba is just about $252 a year. That's less than a single dollar a day. Can you imagine trying to feed your family? Can you imagine trying to buy clothes? Can you imagine trying to see a doctor with that amount? Juba's population is around 500,000. Most of them rely on subsistence farming. Most rely on the informal sector. They grow what they eat or sell small items just to scrape by. Over 2/3 of people here live in extreme poverty. Why is it so bad? Decades of conflict and weak governance have left deep scars on Juba's economy. Wars, political instability, corruption, and without peace it's nearly impossible to create jobs, attract investment, or even keep the lights on. Let's talk about essential services. Healthcare, extremely limited. Safe drinking water, many go without. Roads, most are unpaved, making it hard to get anywhere, especially during the rainy season. Even basic things like schools and clinics are often out of reach for most families. Chronic food insecurity is a constant threat. Frequent famines, cholera outbreaks can make food and water unsafe. Malnutrition is common, especially among children. Violence and displacement are part of everyday life. Just recently, clashes forced over 100,000 people to flee their homes. Imagine being forced to leave everything behind. Your house, your land, your community, again and again. For many in Juba, that's their reality. But here's the thing. Thanks for watching, and maybe, just maybe, let's think about how we can help.